The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. The Paranormal View. Time now for the Paranormal View. The Paranormal View on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Henry Foister, Craig Rupp, and Jeffrey Gould. The Paranormal View.
Welcome everybody to the Paranormal View right here on the Para X Radio Network. Want to thank everybody for being here tonight. The room is filled up greatly, and if you're not here in the chat room with us at ParaX, please do so, because I know we have listeners from all around the world. You can come on over to para-x.com, click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people, and then you can interact with us and the guests, and you'll be able to private chat messages to Craig, Jeffrey, or myself for our guest. Appreciate that. It's been another week, and Saturday night, I assume that a lot of people is getting ready for Easter. So I do want to thank everybody for being here, taking the time out to be with us. And I want to tell everybody Happy Easter. So have a big holiday tomorrow, and I'm sure that lots of people gets to have the big dinners and family outings and stuff. So everybody can do that.
They can all ham it up, I guess, or
Oh yeah.
Now, of course, a lot of people are also looking forward, depending on where in the country they are, looking forward to the season premiere of Doctor Who this tonight.
Oh, is that tonight?
On BBC America tonight, airing the same. It already aired in England, so I kind of already saw it. And it's a fantastic opener. It's going to be an awesome season.
And what time is that supposed to be on tonight? Do you know?
9 p.m. on BBC America.
Okay. Do you know what is that? East Coast, West Coast time?
Both times. Wherever your 9 o'clock is on BBC is when it will air.
Okay. All right then. Okay. We have a great guest tonight, and I assume that we're going to get just loads and loads of questions for this guest. And I do want to welcome our co-host, Craig Rupp.
Hey, everybody. Happy Easter.
And Jeffrey Gould.
Happy weekend to everybody.
And we'll be bringing our Spotlight reporter, Patty Lynham, with her thing a little later on, probably usually right after our first break. So it's a second part of a two-part series, so that should be really good. So, with that, why don't you go ahead, Jeff, because I said I was going to let you do it, and introduce the guest and go from there.
Yeah, our guest tonight is Thomas Durant, who's also does an occasional podcast called Altered States Paranormal Internet Radio, who I've met. He's very friendly, very, very funny. I first saw him at Speak before a screening of the film The Last Exorcist, which was a brilliant, I don't know, Tom, would you consider that more of a black comedy than a horror film? Because I found it hilarious.
We were laughing the whole time. The entire row of us there was just having a ball. I think it's the best comedy of the year.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, Tom, I don't know, I think I may have mentioned this to you, that the co-writer of that film directed me in my first short subject when I moved to California.
Oh, that's excellent. Were you possessed at that point or no?
No, I had auditioned for a project for him when I was still in New York, and I never heard back from him, so I thought, I guess I didn't get the part. So I came to L.A., and my mom calls and says, you got a message on your machine from somebody about such and such, and I called, and he was casting for the same project. I thought, I auditioned for you back in the summer, and he says, and he realized, obviously, I wasn't available, and he says, I still want to use you in something of my own, and I'm coming out to California for something else. Maybe we can film your sequences. So he came out, and we drove around, and we filmed up in the parking lot of the Griffith Observatory, so I had the Hollywood sign behind me over my shoulder for a film called Graham Cracker Cream Pie, which when I saw it in context, I thought, wow, I don't know anybody I could show all of this to, apart from my scene, because it's just as dark and twisted. It's very, very funny, but you have to have a very specific sense of humor to get it. So I was thrilled when I found out that Huck Bacco had co-wrote The Last Exorcist. So, of course, I was able to get into the screening, and there was Tom speaking about demonology to the audience for a good, a half hour before it started, right, Tom?
Yeah, about a half an hour before, and then people had questions afterwards, so we stuck around after the movie to try to answer some questions and, let people know what might have been real and what might have been not, and what was totally Hollywood, so.
Yeah, I loved sort of the Lovecraftian touch it took on at one point. But it was funny because I didn't see you when you guys kind of like zooped out as the credits were still going on, and I wasn't sure if there was going to be a tag or anything, and I couldn't find you because at the time I wanted to ask you if you knew Don Schei, which of course you do.
Yeah. We're very connected here in Southern California. For some reason, everybody knows everyone at some point, so it obviously comes around. And then getting to spend time with you at the SoCal Paracon as well was really nice because, we got a chance then to talk a little bit more, and then obviously at the cemetery afterwards, which was great.
Oh, I know. I enjoyed that. That was interesting. For those who don't know what's going on, at the Paracon at Staples Center, I won a door prize to go on an investigation with Tom and his group. And by the way, Tom, you feel free to let me know when you're going to come hiking around the Rose Bowl, because that's right down not exactly down the block, but I can always love to see you guys again.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went out to a cemetery out in Moore Park, which was really nice. It was one of the first times since I've been out here that I had like no light pollution, so you could see the stars and everything.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite cemeteries to go to. We bring only people we trust out there, really, because it's just such a sweet little spot, and you get little to no noise pollution, little to no light pollution, and the spirits are really friendly, so it's a good place to come, especially if you're training a team to kind of give them the ropes on how to do an outdoor investigation.
I was kind of surprised that there were actually people driving around in there at that time of night.
Yeah, occasionally. Usually it's the teenage makeout spot, too. So.
Oh, hell, okay.
Well, Tom,
that's paranormal in its own way.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, Tom, why don't you let everybody know how you got into the paranormal?
Well, there's a big question. As most people in my field of study say, the paranormal got into us. It's not. It's usually a calling for people that get into more of the demonology aspect of stuff. So I would say that since I was a kid, I had experiences that I couldn't explain and was always drawn to theology, philosophy, religion, and into this sort of paranormal world. And I read everything I could as a kid, and that continued all the way up until now, where I still try to grab everything I can. So various types of occult research and belief systems, and felt like, this is something I'm really interested in. And I got hooked up with a team, actually two teams in Massachusetts. One is Cape and Islands Paranormal Research Society. They're still around. And another one was Orion Paranormal. And worked with them, kind of learning more of the tech side of things. And that's how I got my start, really. And then came out to California and kept doing cases and, meeting people, networking, and just developed it from there. So that's kind of where it started for me.
Now, I thought, because I was reading on one of the sites about you, and I don't know which one it was, but I thought it was pretty interesting. You moved to L.A. for a career change, or for your career, I guess, in film and TV.
Yep.
Has that helped or hindered your work in the paranormal field?
Well, I tell you what, it hinders my ability to watch paranormal shows. Because I work in reality TV. I worked on. I'm an editor for Deadliest Catch and another show called Ice Road Truckers. So those shows that I do, reality TV, the stuff happens, but you got to make it bigger than life. It's still television, and so I was excited about doing that career, but I realized that I had a hard time addressing the paranormal with those eyes But what it does do is it allows me to pick up the story points and what people are telling me, so I can get a clear idea of what people are going through in these situations, clients that call us. I can get an idea of what sort of process they've been going through and see if they're really interested in trying to resolve these hauntings that they have, or if they're just looking for attention. You learn a lot of good storytelling when you work in TV, and that definitely helps when you interview people. The other thing is learning all the tech side of things with television production and all that. You really can apply it to the paranormal field by saying, okay, that's definitely lens flare, or that's a chip in the camera, or, oh, that's a digital artifact created by a bad, copy of the image into the computer chip or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that we can see and really relate to the paranormal and say, okay, well, good, this isn't paranormal, this is just normal stuff, because I know that gear. And when it comes to sound, the same thing. Sound gear, it's very easy to tell what anomalies are, possibly some breathing, coughing, all that stuff, because I hear it all day on the microphones that our guys use. And some of the stuff that I can say, well, I definitely know we didn't say that, and that's very clear, so I'm going to mark that as an EVP.
Now, we're going to, because you're in such a broad field, we're going to talk a little bit about demonology. And if you have questions out there, feel free to private chat them to Jeff, Craig, or myself, and we will get them right over to Tom. So you guys want to start, or you want me to, or do you guys have any questions ready?
Well, with demonology, Tom, I have a question. I know people that every haunting, every demon, or every case is demonic. On the cases you've been to, what are the percentages that you feel that are demonic cases?
I will say the number has definitely increased since 2001 when I started doing this. Now I'm seeing probably out of every 10 cases we have, maybe 4 or 5 of them are demonic, or like more of what we call demonic. I don't believe everything's a demon either. I mean, I'll say that maybe 4 out of 5 of them are non-human in nature, but maybe only 1 or 2 are actually demons or Judeo-Christian, bad guys, so to speak. The rest of them, it tends to be just angry human spirits like us, ticked off at one thing or another, or they were just a-holes in life, and they're a-holes in death. And we have to deal with those guys as well. But the numbers aren't that astonishing. The one thing I will say, though, is, yeah, we have seen an increase, and I spend a lot of time talking with other people in the field, like John Zappis, Father Andrew Calder, and a couple of others, and we're all seeing the same things. So I think that the activity's on the rise. It may be because people are more open to it due to all of this, paranormal TV stuff. It may be because more people are bringing it in. It may even be that people are creating it using thought form manifestation, or what most people would call poltergeist. So those are all possibilities of why it's going up, but it's still not that common where it's like, oh, there's 100 demons in this house we walked into. If I hear somebody say that, I have to think twice about it.
So are all negative cases considered demonic?
Not for me. I don't even like using the term demonologist, because it's a little limiting. I call myself a paranormal consultant, and the people I work with call themselves consultants as well. And it ranges. We've dealt with things that are from the Judeo-Christian aspect. We've dealt with things from the Hindu faith. We've dealt with energies that are from Islamic belief. So it's a wide range of things. I don't think they're all demons. I think that they may exist in some sort of parallel dimension, or they may just be non-physical beings that exist here and just have the ability to interact more with us at these certain times, or, if they're attracted to certain family members for whatever reason, that they're able to manifest more, and that's when we get called in.
I guess what I meant was, so you're like you indicate, a lot of times people who are very kind of heavily Christianized, I don't want to make it sound negative, but how some people get kind of like fundamentalist in their way of thinking, and they think if there's something paranormal or supernatural, they go towards it must be a demon, as opposed to it might be just a ghost trying to get our attention, or like you say, just
Oh yeah,
an angry spirit.
there's always a pitfall for something like that to happen. I mean, we are a product of our belief structure. No matter what anyone says, we're a product of our beliefs. So if somebody comes from a very conservative Christian or Catholic background, then they're going to tend to believe that most of this really negative stuff is from a demonic force, and that's their opinion. For us, we can sometimes get evidence that it's not, but we've been lucky with the cases we deal with. A lot of our clients are actually completely non-believers, agnostics or atheists, that just happen to have this activity happening to them, and they're really open to whatever means we can use to help them out. And that's been really helpful, because I know it's a big hang-up for certain teams who do this as well, and certain people, because we try to work as much within the belief structure of the family or client as we can, but you can't always stick to that. If, I can scream all of the Bible I want at a jinn, but chances are it's just going to laugh at me because it doesn't care.
It's like the old joke of, well, it's sort of like the old joke of holding up a cross and having a vampire just speak in a very Yiddish accent. Have you got the wrong vampire?
Yeah. Oi.
No.
Or if you watch Dracula 2000, it's a terrible movie, but the best part is when Omar Epps is there and the guy holds up a cross and he says, "Sorry, I'm an atheist," and bites the guy anyway.
Now, do demons just take over a body, or can they take over like a structure, a house or building or something?
Well, we like to call that infestation. So when they take over a location, it tends to be like they're building a nest. So it's like getting a foothold in a spot and turning it more into a place that they want to reside in. Pure possession cases are pretty rare. They don't happen that often. And actually, anytime we have a case where we believe there's pure possession going on, which I have not had one yet, I would refer that out to John Zappis, because he's the only guy I trust to really get in there to deal with it, handle it correctly. But as far as like the infestation process, when these things come in, oh yeah, they'll come and make themselves at home. Generally, they'll find a specific room. If there's somebody already occupying the space, like a family, they'll find one room or one place out of the way from everyone else, and then the family will start turning that into like a junk pile room, and it'll just start becoming in disarray. Even if the rest of the house is perfect, that one room will always be just off and really have a heavy feeling to it. Will be kind of almost musky or stale. And that's what I call the nest. That's where I think that these things kind of retreat to when they are in the location and they kind of go to get away from everything else. And usually, we check out attics for that because that's a good spot, or closets. Certain closets tend to be a focal point for that. But, in some places we've even had an entire room where it was just, it used to be a spare bedroom and then there's junk piled everywhere. And that's because this thing's just been in there and it's been trying to get the family to not use the space so it can do its own thing in there.
Why do you think that they tend to do that, like make a closet or a cubby hole in the basement or something as their residence, you might say?
Well, my best guess is like energy attracts like. So if it creates chaos in a space, it's going to feel more at home there, more comfortable on its own. Any creature. It's like watching a rabbit go and, make its own rabbit hole. It's building its own space because it just feels like it needs to have that as a sort of way of protecting itself. Although these things can be extremely intelligent, they still have a lot of primal needs that I've noticed similar to us. So they will, in fact, have these spaces because it gives them a kind of a stronghold. And usually people don't go into those spaces. It gives them the privacy they need to do whatever they're doing behind the scenes to gather energy and to kind of just enjoy being in their filth, and then they go out and slowly try to spread it throughout the house and to the other family members. That's what we've noticed.
So, Jim of Knops in the chat room has also asked if how you and your group can tell if it's something that might be actually demonic or if it's an unstable individual. Like, do you
that's the fun part.
Yeah, do you do psych evaluations or possible mental issues before proceeding with the case and all?
Well, after doing this for so long, there's a lot of red flags that I look for in terms of medications, consistency of information that the client's giving us. We actually do ask our clients if they have mental illness in their history or if they do in the family histories. Generally, the cases where we feel like it's just a single individual being attacked or being oppressed, we have them go out and get psych and physical evaluations because legally we have to. I mean, if it's just a single person experiencing all the activity, then chances are it is more likely to be a psychological or physical ailment. And we always make sure to tell the clients that they have to get that workup done. Again, we've been lucky in a lot of our cases, though, because we'll have people contact us where it's entire families or at least 2 or 3 individuals experiencing the activity independent of one another. And for me to believe that that's mental illness, it seems a little less likely. We still have to legally tell them you should get the checkups done, you should get the workups done, but at least at that point, I'm more willing to go in with my team and record and try to gather information to see if we can coax this thing out and see what it'll do.
Now, considering that it's more of a demon movie than a haunted house movie, did you see Insidious yet?
I have not, actually.
Oh, it's really good.
Everybody's telling me this. I don't get out a whole lot.
Yeah, it's one of the few films that has multiple little jump scares that actually catch me, and they are very rare to catch me on. Because normally jump scares are really telegraphed nowadays in movies, but this one did such a good job at putting things off to the side, and just you're saying, "Whoa, did I see what I just thought I saw?" It was almost like being on an investigation, in certain respects. And then later, when it was clarified, yes, that was what you saw earlier, and that's why you're all freaked out now because it was already, planted in the mind. So it's actually, you'd probably really enjoy it. It's also a lot of humor in it. A lot of it's sort of unintentional. The only thing that I didn't like was that it kind of painted investigators in a bad light because Lee Winnell and another guy play investigators. They come in dressed like Mormons, and they're essentially ultra nerds. And I was like, not so. But other than that, it was a really good film. I think you'll enjoy.
Jeffrey, I own my nerdiness. It's okay. I'm okay with it. My inner nerd comes out when I investigate. It's okay. We play around with tech gear. What do you expect?
Now, you had indicated that there's some sort of a dark or negative force at the far border of that cemetery. What exactly is the background on that?
Well, we couldn't
You literally
get much
said
back.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Wait, am I? Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, you're on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was like, oh wait, I'm on hold. Yeah. Well, a lot of times in these cemeteries, you got to remember they're natural spots. Less to do with the history of the location, and more to do with what we call nature spirits or elementals. And we do run into those frequently. And for me, I try to equate elementals to like deer or raccoon, only non-physical. They exist here. They interact. There's stories going far back that talk about them, whether you believe in sylphs, undines, elves, dwarves, any of that stuff. And I'll tell you, I didn't believe in a lot of them until I started running into more and more of those cases. And I was like, holy crap, this is legit. Fair enough. And you learn their little tricks and how they try to scare people off. And the ones in that particular cemetery were noted for banging on the wood. And we were like, okay, it's got to be like a bird. So we would look for birds or use our flashlights, try to find any sort of birds in the trees, try to throw stuff up to scare the birds out. Nothing, but then you'd hear this knocking and then pebbles being thrown at us. And it's like, well, that's great. I don't think a bird's going to be tossing pebbles at me. And there's no way that it could have been like, seeds falling from the trees around us. This was stuff actually being tossed at us. Well, I'm like, all right, we'll leave you guys alone and do your own thing. So we just respected their space. And a lot of times elementals are very territorial, so we try to give them their space when we can. Just a few times here and there where people move in the spots and they don't know what's there beforehand, and then activity kicks up.
Now, just so you know, squirrels can throw nuts, because we had a squirrel in an oak tree back in the porch where I grew up, and he would literally just, if we came outside, he would scream at us and throw nuts at us. Little acorns, just boink.
If you had seen where we were at, though, when we were standing, it's the little clearing part far away from the trees, because we would never go that close to the tree line. So, I mean, if it can throw them that far, it's totally possible. I don't doubt that whatsoever.
Well, I don't think they'd pitch for a baseball team, but yeah, it's more like a drop.
I mean, yeah, they're no Red Sox players or anything, but
Now, one thing that you was talking about, what is an elemental?
elementals, like I said, I kind of equate them to, kind of like an animal, but they're just not a physical animal. They're some sort of non-cellular, energetic being that, again, people have been describing for a long time. I mean, there's a lot of old texts. Some of my favorites are from the Irish. If you ever get a chance to look up Reverend Kirk, he had a lot of run-ins with these sort of elf folk, and we actually had a case out here. That's why we got into the research of Reverend Kirk. We talked about these elves and the folklore of them, and it goes back centuries. But they are considered elementals. They're part of the earth. They're some sort of earth essence spirit, generally tied to, the grounds or the territory. And different areas are known to have different types. Like the idea of mermaids. Mermaids are very similar to undines, which are water spirits that are known to inhabit the oceans and lakes and things of that nature. So that's when I say elemental, that's what I mean. Essentially, they are dedicated to a certain area. There's Hawaiian elementals that are known for inhabiting the volcanoes out there. So that's all I mean by that.
So, do you mean there's almost like the Irish or Scottish pukas?
I don't know what a puka is. That sounds fun.
Puka is sort of like an elemental being. Sometimes can either be seen as an animal or can sometimes possess an animal. Do you ever see?
The She were known for doing that as well too.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Darby O'Gill and the Little People?
No, I haven't.
It's one of the better live action Disney films that really takes the supernatural to its core roots of Ireland, and in it, Darby's daughter goes off to chase what she thinks is a horse, the family horse, and he realizes that it's probably a puka, and it almost tries to kill her.
Yeah.
So they do have
stories of things. The stories of things on the east coast of New England as well, known as puckwudgies, which are very similar. And then there's the stories of the will-o'-the-wisp that are also elementals that are very similar, where they try to lead people out and turn around and try to kill them or steal on the way to use them as slaves, things of that nature. But yeah, those probably all would be considered elemental spirits.
That's pretty good. I think that since it's already getting close to break time, that we can take a quick break. Probably about 10 minutes, somewhere around in that neighborhood. That'd give everybody a chance to take a break, stretch your legs, get something to drink, whatever. So what we'll do is we'll be back in just a little bit. If you're not here with us, please come over to para-x.com and click on the live chat, and it'll put you in the chat room with all these wonderful people, and you'll be able to interact with everyone and with us by sending questions to us for our guest. You can private chat them to Craig, Jeff, or Henry, and we'll get those right to them. Stay tuned. We have lots more good stuff. And Craig, I'm going to let you take us out for a break. How's that sound?
Sounds good. We will be right back. You're listening to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network.
Don't go away. The Paranormal View will be right back.
You're listening to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network, and we have a great guest tonight, Tom Durant. We're talking with him about demonology, and we'll be talking about shadow people and all sorts of things. So if you're not with us, please come over to para-x.com, click on live chat, and you will be in a chat room with all these wonderful people. And you can also private message Craig, Jeff, or myself with questions for Tom. So with that, let's welcome Tom back and pick up where we'd left off at. I assume that everybody's back with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
man.
am. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
all right. You guys have about 5,000 questions yet from the chat room?
They're kind of slacking tonight. I haven't gotten any.
Need to light a fire. That's all I can
Not-
say.
Let's
Not
go, guys.
directly.
We're not going to fight.
I happened to
It
spot
makes
the
my
two
job
questions. Exactly.
Well,
But
Tom,
I only happened to catch the ones that I saw. They were in the regular chat room, but not directly at us. And I
not
just thought,
directly.
that's
Okay. Well, Tom, if you was to find that there is a demonic spirit somewhere, can you actually make them leave?
Well, that's a fun question. I have found that yes, we find ways that gets them out of the house, and they will try to regain entry. But we try to empower our clients to take care of business on their own, in a sense. Like after we go in and do the initial and kind of show them the ropes on things to do that won't get them hurt, then we try to leave it up to them to reclaim their space, because in the occult philosophies that I do a lot of study in, it's really will versus will. And it's the will of the demon versus the will of the person. And even in the Jewish faith, the Shaitan or Satans, which was a plural, meaning these things that would try to persuade us from the path of God, if you believe in that, they're just trying to influence and do whatever they can, and it's the will of the person walking the path, whatever path that may be, that need to stand up for themselves. And we've had the best success rate with our clients for those who have listened to our advice and started kind of taking their space back and then reclaiming their lives. And after, a certain period of time, depending, every client and every house is different. Sometimes it's one visit and we're done and it's all good, and sometimes it takes months or years to find resolution. But a lot of our cases, we have a fairly good success rate when people listen to the advice we give them. I don't think I'm any sort of badass. I mean, I'll say right now that I feel like a lot of what we are able to do, or what I'm able to do, is more because I kind of allow myself to be a what we call a theurgist in the occult, which is just somebody who works through a duty. So I allow myself to be a vessel for whatever energy needs to come through and do the work. Because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just a human. I'm like everybody else. But if I follow a path of taking care of myself, being grounded all the time, centered all the time, and very disciplined in my life, that more than not, I feel that these energies can work through me and help bring resolution to the families, and that's sort of how I handle things.
Okay.
That quieted you all up. What's up with that?
No, I've got it. I was looking at some of the questions.
Oh, no.
This one is from Nope's Jim, and it says, ask Tommy about his Doom Bowl.
Oh, geez. Yeah, there's a treasure trove of tools that I use depending on the situation at hand. And I have a nickname. Actually, a friend of mine's children nicknamed my backpack the Doom Bag because they thought it brought doom. Well, it was doom for the negative stuff, which I thought was cute. So we kind of took that. And yes, the Doom Bowl is a really large glass singing bowl that I have that was given to me by some good friends down south. And we use that if we have to handle anything that's especially more of an Eastern origin. We find that sound treatments using certain tuning forks or singing bowls, and a good friend, fellow Stanley, does a lot of work with sound therapy. She's helped us, as well as our friend Jen Dooms, who's really helped us to use sound as a tool to kind of move these energies, because you're dealing with a frequency, whether it's some sort of vibration of energy versus some sort of vibration of sound. Sound has always been used in sort of the clearings of these negative fields, as is pretty evident by churches having bells, that all stuff, using chimes or singing bowls to clear out energy. It's centuries old, and it works really well. So that's the Doom Bowl, giant glass singing bowl that we can bring out occasionally, and it's so big that it does actually vibrate the entire area. Like we got my apartment when I started going with it, my neighbors complained because it's shaking the whole apartment. But very effective tool. We only bring that out on special occasions, though.
Now, there was another question that was put into the chat room. It was asked Tommy how to tell if a djinn is in a location.
Well, those things are tough. The jinn are a class of energy that stems from Islamic belief. Actually, it goes back to Assyrian and Babylonian times. But in the Islamic faith, they were created as smokeless fire. They are kind of created on par with angels, but they're much more, aggressive in some sense. Not all are bad. Not all of them are bad, but a lot of them feel like they were better than people, better than humans, so they didn't want to obey humans like angels were supposed to do in that theology. So you have these things that get attached to certain areas, and they don't like when people interact with them, but they're pretty good at taking on other shapes. Like a lot of people will say, well, demons are shapeshifters because they can look like your family members. Generally, when a demon, a Judeo-Christian demon, takes on another form to pretend like it's something else, there's always something just slightly off about it. Like the eyes won't be right, the hands or feet will be messed up, or they'll have some other deformity that kind of sets them apart. Within, they tend to be much more good or much better at cloaking themselves. So for me, we do tests of using different theological or religious texts to kind of bring about some sort of reaction. If we don't get anything from that, in the questioning with the client, the big thing I ask is if the color yellow has been prominent in a lot of dreams or nightmares they've been having that we can possibly associate with the energy, or if the shape or image of the spirit has been different every time it's come through. If it's changing a lot, well, it could just be a bunch of human spirits, but it may also be something that's known for taking shape and changing and doing different things. Nightmares are really common with jinn, but that's common with a lot of these demonic and non-human malevolence. The other big thing is infestations of beetles or spiders. That's a huge one that we see with those cases. And they tend to like deserty areas or high mountain ranges. Those are the two geological locations that we tend to associate them with.
I have a couple questions that came in from the chat room. Kat said she has heard one demonologist say that true discernment is the only way to tell if something is a demon or not. Do you agree with that? And can you explain the term to us?
Well, discernment is a term more known for being given by the church as a way for priests to discern or know whether or not there's a demonic spirit in a location. I do believe some people are born naturally with discernment, but I think you also can learn. It's kind of like if you go to a space and you look for certain clues, whether it's a crime scene or whatever, you start to learn what details of that crime scene are associated with what kind of crime. The more you're indoctrinated into these sort of energy fields, I think you do eventually get a feel for it. The biggest one is with really malevolent spirits, the first thing you're going to feel is either a headache or you're going to feel completely nauseous as soon as you walk in the location. And that's universal. That has always been a sign. I mean, I've read these great texts from somebody who studied the old Assyrian tablets, and they were talking about that back then. That, headache, so it's this kind of spirit, or the nausea when it came around. So that's something I really find universal. And sometimes negative human spirits can be the cause of that. And, it's better safe than sorry, especially if you're not familiar with dealing with these kind of energies. I don't suggest anyone go out there and tackle them on their own or try to find them. It's better to step back, get whatever evidence you feel comfortable with, and then get out of there and get somebody who knows what they're doing to go in.
Okay, and the second question, you may just have explained it to her. This is from Mel from PA. How do you discern whether they are infested by a lower level demonic entity or high ranking demonic force. If there is an infestation.
It's hard to tell whether it's something that's. I don't like to think of it as ranking so much as whether it's older or younger or a larger energy source or a smaller energy source. I think some of these things have been around forever, and some, like humans, are not necessarily born, but are created as time goes on. The older ones are very brazen. They don't hide. They don't tend to pretend to be anything else other than what they are, and they have very little fear of people, period. If you have something that tends to run when people of a spiritual path come by, or if you light some sage and some dragon's blood and it's gone, chances are it's not that old. It's probably something that's a little bit younger, so to speak, and can't deal with that sort of energy. But these older ones that we've been seeing pop up here and there, you can do all of the incantations, prayers, and incense you want, but they're still coming through. So we've had to change our tactics to kind of try to take care of this more aggressive and I would say more ancient entities. And those are really rare to come across. A lot of them are just much lower level and very, they're very young in terms of how, these things can exist.
Now I've got some from the chat room also. Kat wanted to know, is it possible for a person who doesn't believe in demons to oppose them?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that, I don't know, I always feel like you got to believe in something. I mean, some of the people that we get that are afflicted by them are atheists or don't believe in them at all until they get touched by them, until this thing comes into their life. And I have a hard time believing somebody without believing that they exist can go in and clear them out. It seems odd, unless the problems are more psychological or something else. But I'm not by any means the end-all be-all expert on anything. I don't claim to be. My experience leads me to believe that it's probably less likely, but if this person feels like they're able to do it, then more power to them. But I've seen these things rip people apart who haven't believed and all of a sudden run into something, and it changes people's lives forever in a really gnarly way. There's no way you can forget about how you've been afflicted once these things have touched you. And hard to say that somebody wouldn't believe after they really ran into a demon.
Now, Kat has another question that just sort of like say sometimes the questions are somewhat random, so they don't always follow a stream of consciousness. But she's curious as to what you believe are shadow people.
Yes, shadow people are a very fun phenomenon. This was one of my first lecture topics. I've read hundreds of case files. I've spent a lot of time talking with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who's a friend and also another researcher of shadow people. And my understanding is there's different ways to look at shadow people. There is the possibility of some sort of non-human malevolent spirit that is taking a sort of form of a cloaked person with a hat as a means to scare people. Those cases that I've read tend to have red eyes, which I would classify with more of the demonic activity. Then there's a lot of people that have reports of just human spirit that I think was, a lot. Do you guys believe in the theory that cold spots are created because certain energies are pulling the heat out of the spot? Do you guys buy into that?
That or the AC has been turned up.
That's what I've heard, but I don't know if that's
Right.
if that's
Same
it
here.
or not.
Okay, it's one of those theories that some people believe is legit, and if you subscribe to that idea, think of light instead of heat. What happens when you absorb all the light out of an area? It becomes black because it's not reflecting any light back, and that's all black is. So for a human manifestation, a human spirit to manifest by pulling the light energy as opposed to the heat energy, they're going to look like they're manifesting as a black form. So that's, I think, another idea of what some people believe shadow people are. But again, those are specific cases where it just, looks like a person. It could look like your Uncle Fred, for all we know.
Well, now,
There are, however... Oh, Go ahead.
Wouldn't that be similar to in space, like a black hole, which absorbs all the light?
Exactly. That's exactly the same kind of idea. That these things are sucking the light out of the area, and therefore all you see is the lack of light reflection, and that's why it looks black. But there's a number of these cases we've had where the eyes are not red. They're these things don't have these weird, like, abnormal features. They look like people, only their faces are very gaunt, usually expressionless, much more like what you would consider a man in black to look like, only they have a larger brimmed hat and a long duster or coat and boots on. And these cases all tend to have similar attributes that lead me to believe that there's some sort of other force, whether it's a trans-dimensional or interdimensional energy coming through, or maybe it's some other form of spirit that exists here on our plane. I don't know, but they are not. I don't believe that they are demonic, and I don't believe that they are human. I think there's something just off about them. And anyone who works in the psychic realms, who deals with spiritual energies, tunes into them and can't quite put a finger on whether it's human or non-human. And that's what I find really interesting.
That is interesting, Tom. The hats. I've a lot of people have told me the shadow people they've seen have been wearing brimmed hats. I think that's something that needs to be looked into a lot more.
Yeah, and that's been a focus, and that's one of the main things I look for in the studies. Now, part of it is these guys don't like being seen. They're not brazen like some demons. They're not going to, stand in your face. A lot of times once they're seen, they acknowledge very quickly, and then they're out the way. They either step back and disappear, or they walk through a wall, or they just fade out. And I think that the coat, the hat, all this stuff might be some sort of way of being able to blend in a little bit, but also kind of hide them so you can't see their features, because usually the hat blocks a lot of the face, so you can't see it. All you can see is if the eyes are glowing white, or if they're just dark because you can't see anything. That's the stuff that I tend to hear in the case reports that I get on the shadow people. So,
and sometimes it's just a practical reason. If you're creating a cold spot, you just need a hat.
Especially if you're up in New England, it gets cold up there.
Exactly. And of course, we don't see shadow people with parkas on.
And could be because they're all black, they have a black cape on, so you can't see them.
Yeah, exactly. They also have a Zorro mask, which is hidden underneath the hat. You can't see it. That would be good. If I started seeing them with Zorro masks, that'd be awesome. My job would be so much easier to be able to pinpoint them like that.
Now,
question from.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I was going to say that being local here, Tom, you're obviously you weren't available to attend the Linda Vista event last weekend.
Correct. We had a case that we had to go to down near San Diego. We're pretty busy during cases here and there. Generally, I try to limit, because of the nature of the cases we deal with, I try to limit it to about 2 cases per month, so we're not overtaxing ourselves. Because it's physically taxing to do this. It's not like we're getting paid to do it. We do a lot of travel on our own dime, and we try to do whatever we can to help people out, to really reach out and show people that they can reclaim their lives, and that's really important. But we have to make sure that we're all in a good space to do that. So my team and I usually will take some time off, like a week off in between cases. But that weekend, yes, it just so happened we were out of town doing a cleansing on a home. So,
well,
I don't get to do a whole lot of fun.
I haven't written it up yet, but while I was there, I fell in with 2 young ladies who were kind of freaked out when I came across them because she was on one of the floors below where I was, and she was looking down the corridor. You've been to Linda Vista, right?
Oh, yeah, a number of times.
Okay. So you're looking down the long corridor. It goes to the T-junction?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was looking down from about halfway down the corridor, and she saw what her mind saw as an overturned table with the legs sticking out, blocking a door. And for a moment, she moved her light away, and when she brought it back, there was the door. And and it took her a few seconds to wrap her mind around the thing that she had just seen something jet black completely blocking her light from the otherwise unblocked door. And so she was extremely freaked out. And I saw something I'm still trying to wrap my head around on the fifth floor. You know the doors that are planked off?
Yeah.
They look like a cartoon had planked them over. Uh, and I just thought that was hilarious. So I took a photo with my digital camera, and it just came up the door and the walls. But while the pre-flash was going off, I saw something on the ground that I thought, wow, there's my shadow of my head and shoulders at almost, halfway or a third of my height. And I took the photo in the pitch darkness thinking, I'm by myself. There's no light casting to create something on the floor like that. And as I say, the flash may have knocked out whatever was there, and I had the girls come back up with me, and they tried replicating it, but my own shadow was the entire wall, not the heat. Even when I went down the height, when I went down on one knee, I realized that whatever I saw was much smaller than I was, and would have to have been in front of me, as opposed to like where I was, because I was behind the flash. So.
Right.
I'm like,
and that's actually a very common occurrence even at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Very similar things happen there, too. And I've been to that place, and it does have a very similar feel to the Linda Vista Hospital you're talking about in East L.A.
Yeah. How easy it is to get there.
I have a question to come in from a friend. What do you think determines whether a spirit appears to us as an orb or a shadow person?
Well, it's hard for me to answer that. I'm not a big orbs person. It's one of those things that I tend to think is more likely going to be dust or moisture or bug, unless it's really prominent and definitely giving off its own light source. But I think the nature of the entity does tend to dictate how they show up. Someone who, spirit who may have crossed over or whatever, gone to the light, and decide to come back for whatever reason. I think those are beings that tend to manifest more in a luminescent form, whereas the human spirits or the non-human malevolent stuff that we deal with tend to be more of the shadowy figures, and I think it's because they're trying, again, to zap the energy out of the space in order to manifest, whereas these other spirits have some sort of energy source that I can't explain, but they're able to be more luminescent, as opposed to, having to draw stuff to make it happen.
I want to take a second and welcome our listeners from the U.S., Australia, and the UK. So we have listeners, you might say, from around the world tonight, as we do every week. Appreciate it. Also, I want to let everybody know and remind everybody that right after our show, stay tuned, because you'll have Joe and Tara Visions Radio coming on, and tonight they have Willie Windwalker Gibson and Francis Etney discuss their experiences of the Bell Witch. So that should be a real interesting show. So stay tuned right after ours, because Para X is just full of great shows 24/7, and you'll really enjoy it. Thanks everybody for being here. Also, I guess if you have questions, please private message them to Craig, Jeffrey, or myself, and we'll get them right over to Tom. And if you're not here with us, please come over to para-x.com. Click on the live chat button at the top of the page, and you'll be in the chat room with all these wonderful people, and you can interact with them and with us. Also, let's see here. We've got, I think I had another question on here. Yeah. This is from Nope's Jim, and he wants to know, Tom, when you're with other groups, do you do some kind of cleansing for them before they investigate?
I will do blessings over teams beforehand if they want it, and I will only do cleansings afterwards if people want it. I believe everything is free will. So if somebody says, "Hey, look, we'd like for you to come and kind of babysit or whatever, or we think we might be walking into a demonic case and we'd like you to come," I always offer up, here's things for protection if you're really interested in doing it. Like I'll have holy oil, holy water, certain types of blessed objects. I'll have certain types of herb combinations or stones that are known for protection, and I'll have all that stuff on me. So if anyone is interested, I can hand them out or perform just a basic blessing over them of whatever faith they are, and try to make it match as best as possible. So I will do it if they ask, but if nobody asks, then we're all on our own at some point. Just as long as I got my number on speed dial after the fact, that's fine.
Now, with the shadow people, are they evil? Should we be afraid of them?
I really don't think so. I believe wholeheartedly in all the case studies that I really can narrow down to being shadow people, that they are information gatherers. I think they are here just to watch, observe, and report. Report to who? That's the big question. I don't know where they're going with the information, but it seems like all they're doing is they're getting to people in these times of high stress, spiritual awakening, or major changes in their life. And usually these cases start from a young age, like age 3 or 5, and will periodically come and go throughout adolescence and into adulthood. And for whatever reason, certain individuals are being cataloged, and maybe we think of it in the same way that we tag sharks. We catch a shark, we tag it, and then we watch it as it goes on its journey. That's kind of my experience. I don't think they're anything to be feared. The fear reflex that people feel when they enter a space, I think, has more to do with them using it as a defense mechanism to keep us from finding out more about them. Problem is, for them, it doesn't work on me anymore, so hopefully I can get close enough to one at some point where I can find out what's going on.
You guys have any?
Great if they sat down for Q&A.
Do you have anything else from chat room, or you guys just got a regular question? If not,
I have a question. I just wanted to ask Tom to explain. I read where he believes there's 3 different types of shadow people. I don't know if we have time before break or not, or we can do that after. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, in the case reports. Do we have time, first of all? Or should I
Sure. No, you got time.
Okay. In the case reports, a lot of times these visitations begin with these little things that a friend of mine nicknamed the Jawas, like from Star Wars. They're about 3 feet tall. They look like cloaked figures, and they'll have red or green eyes, generally, and then that's all you can tell. They are humanoid, meaning that they have 2 limbs and 2 legs. They generally will appear first. And this is sort of also common with what we see in UFO abduction cases as well, where smaller, aliens, so to speak, would come in first and prep the experiencer for something larger to come in. And these larger entities, I start with a category that I call the Watchers. It's kind of like taking a riff off the Book of Enoch, the angels that were sent down to watch humanity that kind of got a little too friendly with us. I call them Watchers just because of what they do, in this case for shadow people, because they just observe and watch us, but there's no hat involved. So the features, again, very gaunt, pale face, a little bit elongated, eyes are either white or completely black, and then, I've had a couple people tell me that they thought it was female because it had longer hair, but usually it's dark hair as well, and wearing the same traditional coat and boots, so to speak, of these other shadow people. And then you have the Hat Man, which is the more traditional understanding of what a shadow person is, the more iconic image that people understand as a shadow person. And those are the ones that look more like the Men in Black, I think, in a way. And there are a lot of ties between these alien abduction cases, these transdimensional cases, and the shadow people, more so than with demonic infestation and aggression. So I tend to, like I said, I tend to think that there's possibly these otherworldly things that are just kind of crossing into our world to catalog and watch us see what we do.
And you said they look like what species from Star Trek?
Star Wars, the Jawas.
Oh, they look like Jawas from Star Wars. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars. Did I say Star Trek? I get them all confused.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's why I was like, I didn't hear what he said. Because I was
I'm
like,
sorry. Yeah, no, I get them a red shirt. Then I'm going to be the next one out.
oh,
Wah wah. Sorry. That's Star Trek joke.
exactly. I just saw a recent. He said better dead than red, and it shows a red shirt with a phaser, and he's laying face down. And
that was the one thing I thought was interesting when they changed from the old school to the new school Star Trek shows. They changed the red shirt to yellow. They weren't fooling anyone with that change.
Well, of course, they also indicated that the reboot is all a separate rewritten timeline. But generally, yellow is command, and blue is sciences, and red would be security or engineering or both. Yeah, red was engineering and security. Don't know why they didn't have a fourth color.
They were running low on budget, obviously.
Exactly.
Sorry, guys, I was off topic. I apologize.
Oh no.
Now, are shadow people kind of everywhere or just certain locations?
Well, here's the fun part. I spent a lot of time talking to Barry Fitzgerald about this because he obviously does a lot of work overseas. The cases he runs into outside of the U.S. tend to be more aggressive and fit more of a demonic kind of background. So I'm finding out that the cases I've been reading where it's more of what I consider a true shadow person are consistent within the United States, but not much elsewhere. But, like I said, my outside of the U.S. Statistics aren't exactly the best. I try to network as much as possible, but it's hard to get all the details. You never know. And, so I would say my limited research is only allowing me to gather mostly information within the U.S., so that's what I have to work with. But as far as being within the continental United States, I've had cases in Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, in Rhode Island, over here in California, so it's kind of all over the place.
Now, do you think that shadow people are more prevalent in certain parts of the country?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I've had cases all over the place. So, I do believe that I've had more cases come out of the northeastern area, but I've also had a lot come out of Atlanta and Kentucky and Florida. So that area seems a hot spot as well. California, I'd say the case I've gotten out there and some of the stuff I've heard from Colorado, most of it I would explain away as other phenomena.
So has there ever been...
I think they're pretty much all over. I think they're going to go where they're going to go and do what they got to do.
Has there ever been a case of some of them hurting someone or attacking someone?
Yeah, there are cases where people feel like they're attacked by the shadow people. One case in particular, a person in New England, one of the case studies I did, actually two of them over there, because a person was researching shadow people, and she was getting really involved and in-depth with the information. And I told her, look out, because you may end up being watched at some point because of this decision. And sure enough, stuff had started happening already that I wasn't aware of. And one night she was in sleep. The night before, she was going to give a talk about them over there, and she woke up and saw the shadow next to her, and he was holding her down. And she said it was a shadow person, but again, I don't know because I wasn't there. And the information I get makes me think it's more of some other force that may have been feeding off of her fear. But it is entirely possible that this thing was holding her down. It wasn't until she was able to shake free and kind of get out of her bed and turn all the lights on that she felt safe again, and that her house had been sort of settled down, and this thing wasn't coming back. But she had been seeing these shadow people, like more traditional shadow people, happening in and around the area when she was just going about her business, getting ready for this lecture before that event. The other one is a person who had seen multiple shadow people with hats, and one evening, while he was in his room before he was going to bed, he did get approached by two of them, and he said that he was actually pushed down and held down, and eventually it subsided, and he was able to get back up and get out of the area. So those are two of the only ones that I found where somebody really has gotten attack, and those were both in New England. But again, whether or not it could have been demonic, because some of the details are a little vague, so it's hard to really identify whether it was a demonic versus being what I consider a more true shadow person. That's the hard part. I mean, a lot of it is cataloging information, and I can lump everything into one category and say, oh yeah, it's all demons. But I don't believe in doing that. I think that quote unquote, the devil is in the details, so to speak. As terrible as it is to use that analogy, the more information we gather in our research that we do, the more detailed we can get, I think the more likely we are to separate certain types of phenomena and be able to really pinpoint what's happening, just like any field scientist would do with different species. Yeah, you can have 10 different frogs, but not every frog is from the same species. Some of them are slightly different, or some of them are vastly different. And I think it's putting these things under a microscope and putting the information we get under a microscope that's going to allow us to better subdivide into categories what we're dealing with and learn how to either work with or, if you have to, work against them.
I think that what we'll do is we'll take another quick break and come back and talk more. First, any more questions dealing with the shadow people, and then talk about some of the investigations that you've done. So I think if you would like, Jeffrey, how about
Sure.
you taking us out for a break?
Certainly. I don't have a car though, but wait, okay. Well, we'll be right back after this break to the Paranormal View with our guest Thomas Durant. So those in America, don't go slipping off to watch Doctor Who premiere, which you should have already set to record. Seriously.
ParaX is your source for everything paranormal.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the ParaX Radio Network. Appreciate each and every person here tonight. Filled up chat room, and we got people listening from all around the world. Want to take the time to welcome and thank each and every one for being here with us. I do want to remind everybody tomorrow is Easter, so enjoy the time to be with the families. And then maybe you can also tune in and catch a couple of shows here on ParaX.
Are you trying to egg them on?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Sorry, I couldn't hold that one back.
I know you couldn't.
I tend to leave people a basket case.
Tonight we have... well, you end up making them that way, though.
This is true.
Yeah. Want to let everybody know that tonight's guest is Tom Durant, and great show tonight. He is just full of great info. I don't seem to have anything else from the chat room right now, but I would like to know what's some of the best places that you have investigated.
Well, first off, I have to say I'm glad that I'm full of great info and not something else. That's nice to hear, so thank you. Well, it's funny because a lot of the stuff we do is residential, so we don't get a whole lot of time to go out, or I don't get a whole lot of time to go out and do a lot of big places. However, I will say I've had a really big soft spot for the Queen Mary ever since I was a kid, and when I finally got to come on the ship with Bob Davison and the Planet Paranormal team back in 2007, we had 6 months of full access on that boat, and it was the most amazing experience in my life because it was number one, it was a dream come true, and number two, when you can get into areas like the cargo hold where you know you're not getting contamination and you can get some of the most amazing EVP, that was really a lot of fun for me. The other place that I really enjoy was I got to go to the Stanley Hotel with my friend Bill Murphy, who's now on a show called Factor Fate. And Bill took me out there. We were doing a DVD for his own release that he puts out, and just the activity that we ran into over there. I've never been to a place that has had more EMF, first and foremost, but secondly, that also just had a huge contingent of anomalies, everything from EMF spikes to temperature drops and rise at our beck and call, basically, to objects moving and strange light anomalies. It was fantastic. That, and I love Estes Park, Colorado. For some reason, I felt really at home there. Had a great time with all the people that were out there when we were there. So those are two of my favorite spots, bar none. And I think if you haven't been there to investigate, definitely worth the trip.
And you're aware that the Queen Mary has changed ownership again, right?
Oh yeah, again. What's new? They seem to change ownership every. The management company. It's not ownership. The management has changed for like the fifth time in like 4 years or something like that. It's absurd. But Bob Davis did put together a nice little package, and I think they're going to keep that with the new management, where you pay a pretty nominal fee and you get access to the pool room. Which, if you're a first-time investigator and you've never done it, I'd say it's well worth it, just because the place has so much history and it's got a lot of fame behind it for what it is. However, if you're looking for... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to just saying that I got my first EVP in the dressing room of the Queen Mary, the first class pool.
And it's not like you need anything expensive. For anyone out there who's new to investigating, you don't need to get like a $300 recorder like I have, or whatever. You can go out buy a $30 recorder, just go have fun somewhere, and it's still amazing to watch people when they get their first EVP. I do a lecture series for a company called Power Performers, where I go to colleges every year, and I'll go to these great lecture halls. I'll sit down and tell kids about investigating for the first time, and then take them out. And I always love seeing the reaction the first time they catch an audio clip and they freak out. Half of the group will leave because they're scared to death, and the other half will be so interested that I'll get emails for weeks afterwards like, hey, we're going to put a team together, we're going to start doing this more. And it's nice to see that excitement.
And of course, what Jeff's first EVP was in that dressing room. It said, "You've got the wrong dress on."
Wow.
I couldn't hold back on that one.
He's speechless. He's not replying.
All I was thinking was I can just send the link to the... I can't figure out how to do it as an audio, so I created a video and used the audio as the audio for the movie, which essentially was it was a Queen Con that Don Shy ran last February, something like that? Not this past.
Yeah, it was
like
just over a year ago.
And time has flown. We're all saying, when's the next Queen Con? But somebody was asking Jackei about the lights, I guess either on her Mel meter or EMF meter, and all of a sudden you could hear the reverb in her voice because of the acoustics of the area, and all of a sudden a very clear non-reverb voice says, "On this side."
That's I've heard a lot of different things from Jackei on the Queen Mary like that. I think that would be a really neat place to go investigate like that, especially because I've heard that they have regular conversations with that spirit.
Oh yeah. A good friend of ours, Bob Davis, has done a lot of research on that boat, and he somehow brings out the side of Jackei. He tends to get a lot of good EVP from her, and back and forth communication through real-time EVP playback. So she's definitely talkative if you're willing to sit there and kind of coax her out. So she likes father figures.
She also is very much into doing audibles. Apparently, Bob says you can walk in there and hear her singing. And I came across one video. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying I saw one video where he and somebody else were in there, and you could hear her, shouting and making noise, and hearing her voice reverb on the tiles.
Yeah, he was down with another investigator from that team, Brian Clune, They had 2 different recorders running, and they were catching audibles from her on both recorders, which is pretty impressive. Now, I'll tell you a personal story. During that 6 months that we had on the boat, one time we were going through the pool room to get down to the cargo hold. It was Bob, myself, and about 3 other team members, and we were being led by a Queen Mary security guard. We get into the pool room, Bob goes, "Hi, Jackei, it's just me." And you hear her clear as day, "Hi!" The security guard got so scared, he stopped dead in his tracks, and he's like, "You guys are going on your own. I got to get out of here." So, yeah, she can be really loud and really clear. I think that's why I think the Queen Mary is just spectacular. You have spirits like her, or there's another female, Sarah, that people tend to get. There's John Henry down in the green room area, which is down by the boiler room. A lot of really fun little nooks and crannies to get in trouble in. So it's a sweet spot if you guys ever get to take a trip out here.
But I have also heard that, just like a lot of the other what I call big box places, that the price to be able to go in there to investigate is just skyrocketed.
Well, if you go through the Queen Mary management, it's a little high. If you talk to Bob Davis, he set up something that's a little bit more reasonable. But, yeah, a lot of these spots, you got 2 things working against you. They want to charge an arm and a leg to do it. And then the other thing is, how sick do you think these spirits are talking to us? How many times are you going to get asked the same question?
Right. That's
so
true.
I would just be like, no, I'm not going to talk to any of you guys. Are crazy.
Yeah.
I know you investigators, every one of you is the same way. So those are the things that's the reason why I kind of stopped going to these bigger haunts, because it just seemed like, I don't want to annoy the heck out of spirit. That's not my job. And
like you say,
the stuff I deal with, I don't want to.
How many times are they going to hear, "Is anybody here?"
Right.
Yeah.
It's always the first thing.
Which I also find that going to some of the lesser known places, you tend to have more of an experience and more activity.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? The best activity we get is when we sit down and we just try to have a conversation. All this questioning of, what year is it? What's so-and-so? What's your favorite food? Some of that stuff I can see, but really for me it's about opening up a conversation. So start like I was talking to anyone off the street, or even talking between our friends, and usually we'll have people that are psychically in tune with us, and they'll start giving us information. And then we can feed off of that and say, well, was that really your name, or was it something else? Or did that really happen to you? Or, you got to give us the real story so we know. And we get a lot better responses being much more friendly with them than trying to just be drone on about, so what color am I wearing? How many of us are in here? It's funny. You go to all these events and you hear everybody and their mother saying the same thing. And I always want to be the guy that's different, because if 7 other people are going to ask the same question, let me try something different. What kind of, are you wearing boxers or briefs?
Right. Well, it's more like having a conversation like they're right there with you.
Well, yeah, there were people too. So why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right.
That's my thing. I always try to treat them with respect and treat them like a friend, because I'm coming into their space, as far as they're concerned. So I want to be as friendly as possible, and unless it's a non-human, at which point I have a very different tact when I walk into a place. But for human spirit, I always try to walk in with respect and just being kind and friendly. And if they don't want to be friendly after a while, at least I tried.
Now I want
Plus
to go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was going to say. Plus, you're really hoping for the EVP that says, "I'm going commando."
Or not hoping for that one.
I want to remind everybody we still have time if you have questions to private chat them to Craig, Jeff, or myself. And
well, interestingly enough,
we'll get them
Rob
in.
H. in the chat room asks Tom if you know anything about St. Bernard dogs. He keeps seeing the dog variety all the time. I was wondering if you know what that might mean. I guess he means ghost dogs.
Well, he might mean the real dog too. A lot of people pull signs out of synchronicity. The real dog, Saint Bernard. If you're a Catholic, you can go by that faith and feel like that they're an omen as protectors and healers and helpers. I actually had a case in Michigan that I went to where they had a Saint Bernard, and actually the dog was getting attacked, but this dog was the protector of the home, and anytime this energy would try to go after the family, the dog was right there and very aggressive in trying to, stop this thing. So I definitely feel like they are a protective force, but I think most dogs have the ability to see these things. And part of it might be that they have a better visual field of the UV spectrum, the ultraviolet spectrum of light. Kind of like how a lot of people say kids see ghosts more, and I think that's more to do with the fact that their UV filters haven't fully developed in their eyes, so they're able to see into that spectrum, which I think is more likely what we're going to capture them with our cameras and all that. But St. Bernards, again, I think that, yeah, they definitely, most of the times I've heard of them, they've been very in tune with these energies. And then in the one case in particular was really trying to protect the family. But it's probably better off to look into more of the religious or theological beliefs of where you're coming from to find out where that significance is coming from.
And of course, the dog also could have just come from a kegger, being a St. Bernard.
Right.
Anyway, I actually, the reason I was interested in the question as well was I had a spectral, invisible dog bark in my face, on the Queen Mary when I was there for QueenCon.
Wow.
Well, I think there's definitely animal spirits as well. I mean, I don't doubt that there's other things that cross over and, they hang out. I've heard of, I've seen ghost cats before, definitely on the Queen Mary too, where I thought I saw a cat, look back and there's nothing there, and people will be like, oh yeah, there's always a ghost cat hanging out in here. Oh, okay. I've caught meowing on my recorder at several, actually I was doing 2 different lectures in Oregon. One was in Eastern Oregon, one was in Western Oregon at 2 different universities. The first night in Eastern Oregon, I got a recording where I heard a cat meow. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. The next night, I was on the other side of the state and caught the same meow twice.
Wow.
So that was interesting to me. So I definitely believe cats have an afterlife. We also caught, we got asked to go back to New Hampshire and go to my neighbor's house. They had a horse who passed away. And I was investigating with some good friends of mine there, and we caught a horse whinny on the recorder. It was pretty clear to where I sent the clip of just us talking to the owner, and I just said, here's a clip of audio. I don't like telling people what I hear because I want them to get it. I don't want to put it in their head. I don't like the power of suggestion. So I said, here's a clip of audio that we caught. You tell me what you hear. And sure enough, she wrote me back and she said, that is my horse. I can hear the whinny very clearly. That's Eric. So I totally think animals have an existence on the other side for sure.
I believe that. I did capture what used to be an old barn that had been remodeled and made into a studio. I did capture a moo of a cow. So.
Sure Sandy wasn't in there?
No, there wasn't any cows around nowhere.
I meant Sandy from the chat room.
Oh, that moo? Yeah.
Move.
I do have another question here from Kat. Wants to know, do you believe demons have any power over us that we don't give them through fear?
Not really. I believe heavily in the occult philosophies. The only time I believe that that's not true is if we have some sort of major lesson we have to learn. Because going back to all the religious texts, the only reason these things ever existed was to tempt us in order to make us more worthy of being in the eyes of the Creator, whatever Creator you believe in. So I think that it's always ultimately going to lead somebody into a more enlightened place. It may not feel better at the time, but those of our clients who have really overcome these sort of hauntings and experiences have come out in a much better perspective of life and modality of being overall. There are some people that kind of let these things beat them down, though, because they choose not to step up or other intentions like greed or ego get involved. And, hey, I like having this thing around because it's the only thing touching me in a sexual manner. Oh, well, that's great. If you want it around, that's fine, but I can't help you get rid of something if you want the attention. So those cases we have to back out of, and usually it does go very poorly for those clients, or some people who just don't follow the instructions. And, we try to do what we can, but there's only so much you can give where, then it starts affecting my team because these things aren't, just location specific, we'll have, before I even get a case, like a week or two before I even get a case, I'll start getting these feelings and visitations from darker forces, and I'll know that something's coming in. And sure enough, within a week or two, a case will come into our desk, and I'll be able to say, all right, that's what we're dealing with. I knew it when it showed up. And, as we're dealing with these cases, they will try to go after my investigators and my dear friends who take this journey with me, and God bless them for doing it, because I would hate to be doing this alone. But those who take the journey with me, they all know the risk. And, I've tried to prepare them as best as possible, but you can never tell what these things are going to do. Everything from killing your pets to making family members sick to putting you in the hospital. I've seen it all in the time I've been doing it. So, I'm just, like I said, I'm really thankful. I've had people that have been there with me to help me on this sort of pathway. But, these are the things we know when we walk into a place that we're going to have to deal with.
Now,
I think I totally missed the question, though.
in the chat room, there's a little bit of chatter about gems and such, and regarding magnetite. And I Dig Dead People indicates that, Tom, that's sort of one of your areas of expertise is gems and minerals and such.
Well, I use a lot of herbs nowadays. I started out when I was doing psychic classes and readings back in 2003 and 2004 in Rhode Island. I did stone therapy workshops and things of that nature where I would show people different minerals that are useful. So for investigators, I always say your best friends are going to be tiger's eye, hematite, black kyanite, or black tourmaline. Those are really strong protecting stones that also help keep you grounded, and especially if somebody is known for being kind of a scaredy cat or a little flighty, it'll help them manage those stress triggers a little bit better, and also help keep the investigators safe from bringing anything home with them, which is a big thing that we run into quite a bit. Somebody's like, oh, I started doing paranormal investigation, and I brought a friend home with me. Did you want your friend to come home with you? No. Is your friend causing trouble? Yes. Are you going to learn next time? Yes. Okay, fine. Let's go in and help you out. Try to get rid of your friend, send them back where we came from, and then, here's some tips. And those minerals that I labeled are really useful. Some people also like amethyst. That's another one that has actually been used in exorcisms. This is something that John Zapp has told me about. They'll actually put amethyst in the rings of the exorcists who are ordained to go out and do the actual exorcisms because it's good with clearing out the energies. And, for as far as minerals and incense, I think everybody who does investigation, even if you don't believe in it, it's a good idea to have some incense on hand, even if it's just to calm your own body down. So we prescribe a lot of people to use lavender oil in a oil diffuser, or just boil a pot of water, put a couple drops of lavender, and let it go through your house. But first, it's going to de-stress you, and then secondly, it's going to help kind of calm the energies out of whoever's around you and help you kind of detach and focus your will. So that's, again, the main thing is your willpower, your ability to stand up for yourself and put your boundaries out there. Those are some helpful things there. And I'm sure I Dig Dead People, it's my friend Dave Harvey, who works a lot of these cases, and he'll probably put up a couple of herbs up there and some incense that are useful for people that are being afflicted by things, and some other stones that they may have missed. But I think it's important for investigators to think of these things, and also, if you don't believe in any of the stones or minerals, at least have a family trinket or something that means something to you as a form of protection, whether you believe it's a guardian angel watching over you or an aunt or an uncle, and something on you that reminds you of them. These sort of things, I think, really help keep the investigators from getting kind of too involved with the cases, if you know what I mean, and having bad consequences due to it.
Now, I have another thing that I want to ask you about, but before I get to that, what's your best piece of evidence that you've collected?
Well, I've got a number of things. Here's the deal with what I do. Because of the nature of the cases, I don't tend to keep the evidence around. We go through it, we get the information we need out of it, and then we archive it, and we never open it again. We don't have a website. We don't put our stuff up there for people to listen to, because in the nature of the cases, it's just not safe as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not going to give any energy to something that I just help, kick out of somebody's house. It just doesn't sound like a good idea for me. I have, and you know, I've worked with people like Mark and Debbie Constantino, and they've caught some amazing evidence around me. You know, one, we were trying to do a banishing. My friend Kristen Ballman, who works with me as well, her and I were trying to kick something out of a location, and I got swore at a number of times in various languages, very loud, and then also had some Aramaic and Latin come in on the tape. At another location in Clovis, California, I was doing some Aramaic prayers and was receiving Latin screaming back at me, which was fun.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's the sort of stuff. Yeah, I've got sworn at in Hindi and probably like 6 or 7 other languages. It's just how it goes.
That's
That's
pretty
kind of part of the
interesting.
course. So when I get that stuff, I just laugh because you know, what else are you going to do? Like, all right, well, obviously it doesn't like me. That's fine. I'm going to give it a big hug anyway.
Now, our time is just shooting right on by. So if you do have a question, private chat it to Craig, Jeff, or myself before we get done. And also I want to remind everybody to stay tuned. Right after our show, Joe and Tara Visions Radio will be on, and they will have on Willie Windwalker Gibson and Francis Etney discussing their experiences of the Bell Witch, based in Tennessee for over 200 years. So stay tuned for that. That should be a great show. One of the things
I certainly hope they.
Go ahead.
Never mind.
Oh.
I was going to say, I certainly hope they tear apart that odd little film that tried staying close to the story of the Bell Witch and then fell apart and decided to have this weird Hollywood ending that I just want to smack the filmmakers for.
Par for the course there, Badger. Par for the course.
Now,
yeah, that's for sure.
There's a thing people has talked about from time to time. It's like you'll hear about it and it'll be real popular for a while, and then it kind of goes undercover and you don't hear anything of it for a while, and then it'll pop back up. But what's your take on this thing called black-eyed kids?
Woohoo!
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was going to come. You know what's funny is I run into this a lot more now where people are asking me about this phenomenon. And to be honest, a lot of the stuff I research is stuff I've come across. You know, it's the need to be learning all the time, but usually we're inundated with cases, so it's hard for me to do independent, what I call fun research outside of that. My take is a lot of the stuff seems just off enough to more than likely mimic, you know, demonic manifestations, which are known for using children as a sort of image to portray so that you feel vulnerable and you're willing to try to coddle these, you know, this energy, whatever it is. And I don't know. Black-eyed kids, I just don't trust it. That's going to be my take on it. As short and sweet as that is, I don't trust it.
You mean you don't trust that they exist, or you don't trust them if you were to come across them?
I don't trust them if I were to come across them. Would you really, Jeffrey?
No, because everything I've read is that they're very scary and will, like, kill you kind of a thing.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more like the lore of, say, like the Pukwudgies, again, going back to that phenomenon, which are more like troll-ish creatures that sort of lure people away to try to, you know, hurt them or kill them for whatever reason. You know, it has a weird vibe to me, but again, when non-human forms try to look human in order to get our trust, they don't quite hit the bar every time. And black eyes is one of the common things that happens in that scenario. So
And IRS agents. Oh, wait.
that too. IRS is worse. What do you think? I'd rather have the black-eyed kids.
I have a question to come in from the chat room. WB Ghost Hunters would like to know if someone is able to get rid of one demon, is it possible for that demon to send in another demon?
Well, in the old text, it does say if you remove one, 7 will come in its place. We have found that generally in our cases, when we take one out, I think the key phrase here is whether or not it's a good idea to banish these creatures. And here's what I mean by that. Banishing is a technique known to send these things back to the abyss or where they come from. You kind of send it far, far away in a place where it's not going to come back and hurt the people. The reason I don't do that is because, number one, I don't know where the hell I'm sending it to. and I don't like having no information about where I'm going to put this thing. And two, more importantly, people who generally go under these attacks are more prone to get visitations from other non-human forces. It's like sort of like a slug leaving a trail. You take the slug out, but the trail's still there, so other slugs may think, hey, I can follow this and come in. So we do see that happening, but again, that's why we work really hard with our clients to teach them how to use whatever spiritual tools that they have, or even real tools like people putting up UV lights in their home has diminished the activity in the rooms which have the UV lights, or taking out the negative ion charges in the space by using a deionizer. So these sort of things have been known to help calm some of the activity that we've dealt with and give the people a little bit more ground to stand on so that they can, again, stand against these things and have a bit more willpower. I hope that answers. I don't know if that answered the question, man. It's terrible. I'm forgetting the questions while I'm halfway through. I feel awful. Hey, at least I'm honest. You can't fault me for not being honest.
Now, you had indicated earlier about protections and such of, making sure that we're investigating something that no one decides to go home with you. I found out about that aspect of that years after I first went to the Disneyland Haunted Mansion, which jokingly ends with "Beware of hitchhiking ghosts."
Yeah.
And considering that apparently it's well settled that the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland has attracted actual ghosts that hang out in there, do you think that's a really good idea, that essentially it's almost suggesting to ghosts saying, hey, take a look at this guy, why don't you go home with that guy or this girl?
Well, yeah, in a way, but here's the difference. People aren't actively seeking the ghosts of Disneyland, and with that lack of interest, and unless somebody is spiritually or psychically attuned, their chances of going home with somebody are going to be a little less. But if you're going out, even if you're not even spiritually awakened at all, if you're dead as a doornail with the psychic abilities, but you're still going out trying to get EVP, you're still drawing attention to yourself. So more than likely these guys are going to want to hang around you because, look, if nobody has seen or heard me in 53 years, I've been dead that long, and all of a sudden here comes this person who's actually talking to me. Even if they can't see me, they're talking to me. I'm going to be really excited to talk to this person. And I'm going to do everything in my power to follow that person because they might be the one who can hear me and help me out with whatever I have going on. And I think that's more why spirit attachment happens, other than, just happening across the place and something hooks onto you. It's more because there's this need for connection. If they're a stuck soul. That's my belief on it.
Yeah.
Some things do use you as a battery, though. I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, man, after I investigated, I felt drained, or I felt tired, or the first thing you want to do is go to Denny's and eat 7 plates of food. And a lot of that is because I think they do kind of tap into our energies and use it to manifest for us in order to bridge the connection. And sometimes that can be a negative thing if they choose to stay on and follow you and keep feeding off of your energy for whatever reason. And eventually it can really start to affect your life and mood swings and all that stuff, too, even if it's just human spirit. So,
and it's really bad if you decide to go to Denny's. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, you know what, though? It's open.
That's true, yes.
Where else are you going to go? It's open.
Now, I guess it's maybe not right on topic, but you work with the TV series Ice Road Truckers and what was the
Deadliest Catch?
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch, yep.
Now, are those
that's going to be airing soon?
Those are all filmed on location. Do you
Right.
ever go out while they're filming it?
Well, I've been asked many times by my company to go out and film, and I will say I like living much more than not. And these jobs are dangerous. Our cameramen do put themselves at risk, and I get paid a heck of a lot more to sit in a nice climate-controlled edit bay in Burbank, California. So I hate to say it, guys. I as much as I like adventure, I get enough of that with my cases. I like having that steady job to come back to and get enough money where I can help support what my team and I are doing.
Well, now, I know that someone had died on the deadliest catch. Did he die from that or died something else?
Well, it depends. Last year, one of our dear captains, Phil Harris, passed away, and his passing was tragic because he just didn't take care of himself. As sad as it is, it's kind of an unhealthy lifestyle being out there on the boat, and it catches up to everybody eventually. It's a hard life. So he passed due to those reasons. It gave him an embolism and a stroke, and that eventually took his life. The person who died, who had just started on this season of Deadliest Catch, was the Time Bandit. He passed away. I believe they figured out that it was a drug overdose in this hotel room, which is common. I mean, again, these guys, you work hard, you play hard, and sometimes they play a little too hard, and it comes back to bite you.
So,
however, going up there, I wouldn't be opposed to trying to get some EVP off the Cornelia Marie at some point if I get a chance to go out there. Just the opportunity hasn't come up.
Yeah, that was my question, was with those deaths, had there ever been any reports of paranormal activity?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, but the other thing too is maritime people have a tradition of lots of paranormal occurrences happening. The one thing I will say is when Captain Phil died, basically the 2 or 3 days in which he was passing, there was this crazy storm in the Bering Sea it was one of the worst storms any of the captains had ever seen. And then as soon as Phil passed, the sea was calm, dead calm for 7 days straight. And that's something a lot of them had never witnessed before, but definitely feel like there was some sort of deeper meaning to it. And I agree. I mean, the Bering Sea is unpredictable, but it sure as hell isn't a flat, calm ocean. And for 7 days of flat, calm with nothing going on, I thought that was pretty miraculous, if you ask me.
Well, our time has just run right on by. I want to thank you, Tom, for being with us tonight. And I want you to stay on till after we get off, and we'll chat with you for a few minutes.
We have time for one quick question from the chat room, Henry?
Sure, go ahead.
Catherine wants to know, Tommy, she wants to know about over-investigated locations creating new entities showing up that are potentially harmful. Do you know anything about that? Is that something you could answer?
Well, I would say that we definitely have the idea of the thought form or the poltergeist energy, which is if enough people believe in something. There was an experiment done in Canada called Conjuring Philip, in which a group of students created a ghost out of their own minds, and they did get activity that basically completely validated that they had created that sort of force. Phil Murphy also did an experiment here in California where I was a part of, where they created an energy, and people are still getting activity to this day in a room that was never haunted before. And the activity all centers around a person or manifestation that we created. And that's an interesting thing to consider, because what happened with the case in Southern California with Bill's experiment was not only were we able to create the energy of the person that was now leaving EVPs and photos for people, paranormal photos were being taken of this woman, but psychics and sensitives in the area were also feeling this strange male presence that was really aggressive. And it turns out, well, in our story that we were trying to create, this person, Pearl, this energy Pearl that we created, was murdered. We didn't go into depth about making the murderer, but we put the idea out there that this spirit believed that they were murdered by this man, and we think somehow that triggered that thought form manifestation to create another manifestation of this other person to kind of validate their existence. And that's a really convoluted topic. It's something that would take a lot of time to go into it in depth and really explain it. But needless to say, I think thought form manifestations can be dangerous if the intentions aren't right going in. I also think that some of these investigators who are hopping around from place to place, if you go to a place like Bobby Matthews, which is notorious for having a demonic haunting, there is a possibility that it will attach to you and it will go home with you, and it has. And the Ghost Adventures even put that on their show, that some of their attendees from the event went home with this thing kind of harping on them and messing around with their homes. Well, maybe it decides to follow you to another location which didn't previously have it, but it decides it likes that better, so it's going to stay there. It's totally possible. That is something that I've considered in the work that we do. We always ask people, have you been to a haunted location, or have you been to a location that's known for being, demonically active. That's the first question we ask.
We are down to our last minute and a half.
Sorry.
Have you got some your sites, how to get in hold of you, and what's going on with you, real quick?
Yeah. Go to www.tomyd.com, TommyD.com, or www.alteredstatespararadio.com, and you can get all of my information there and get in touch with me. I'm very easy to talk to.
And if you'd like to email us, you can do that at the paranormalviewfans@gmail.com, and you can also go to the paranormalview.com website. And Jeff, you want to give your stuff real quick, and
Sure.
also about our new page on Facebook.
Oh, yes. We have a paranormal Facebook page, which the URL I do not have immediately in front of me. And actually, wait a minute, I should be able to bring it up really quick. However, I do have my own on my website. You can go to jeffgould.net, GEOFFGOULD.net/2011PNV.htm, and that is sort of on my website, the Paranormal View page, and the link should actually be on there. And I'm going to have to... Derek, somebody keeps texting me. So, yeah, I should really have these things
Okay.
ready.
Next week, I want to throw this out real quick. We have Edie Nathan from A&E Psychic Kids. So do tune in for that also. With that, we're going to have to jump off and run. Again, I want to thank Tommy for being on tonight. And stay tuned for Joe and Tara, Visions Radio with Willie Windwalker and Francis Etney. So stay tuned for that. Till next week, this is Henry Foister.
Craig Rupp.
Jeffrey Gould.
And we will see you next week at the same time. So stay tuned for Joe and Tara.
We're leaving. Paranormal View. Come back and visit us again if you dare. You've been listening to the Paranormal View.